regain control. Hit the intros, Spaz.
From the opening bell to the final dance, we analyze every win and lost chance. Let theories unravel in a lively chat. Jake and Spaz bring you where the action's at.
Survivor Series War Games, a lot of interesting things happened. Hell of a great night. I was blown away by that ending. I love seeing Roman finally have to side with Punk. That's okay, though, ladies and gentlemen. We got the one, the only Spaz Phoenix in the house. What's going on, Spaz? How you doing, buddy?
I'm not doing too bad. That was a pretty fun show. Not perfect, but a pretty damn fun show, and
that
a
was
good example
lot of fun. My God, I
enjoyed
myself.
WWE
yeah,
doing a whole lot of like, we're gonna do this because we can. And we're gonna throw our dicks up on the table.
The new PLE. This is what we got. I mean, that ending was something crazy so far. Absolutely crazy. We'll see what happens with the stream here. It says it's got excellent connection, so we'll play into it and see what happens. But all in all, we're having a great night so far. Hopefully everybody's enjoying themselves and having a good night. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on the YouTube. Spaz, what a night, huh, bud? I mean, honestly, crazy to see a new U.S. champion. I think that's a huge takeaway.
Yeah, somebody was right about that. I don't remember who it was. I think I'm frozen on your video thing, but as long as people can hear me, I'm good with that. Just have an awkward freeze frame of my face.
Yeah, we'll see what happened here. We'll see how to refresh you. You know, we'll go ahead and reload you, but we'll see what happens and see how to get you back into the the Skype. Make it function. We'll see. We'll try and refresh you here and see what happens. But in the meantime, at least we can hear you. That's the good thing. We might have to reset the call. We'll see what happens. At least people can hear you so far. I appreciate everybody hanging out, hitting that like button. If we have to call you back, we'll see what happens. But so far, it's not agreeing with us so far. So let's go ahead and we're going to call Spaz right back. We're going to see if that fixes things here. It might work. It might not. We'll see what happens. We'll hear the audio for a second, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. And we got him back, and still no update on mine.
Still frozen.
Still frozen. All right.
You know what? We'll go with it as long as people can hear us. If you're listening in the chat right now, let us know if you can hear me, and we'll go from there. Because it's just me talking. It's not that exciting anyways.
Right. Hey, that's okay. We'll work on it in the meantime and see how we get you to go ahead and be refreshed. But we'll see what happens, Sir Spaz.
All right. Cool.
So what did you think of tonight? I was very happy with what we got, you know. Honestly, things were as expected. You know, it was what I was figuring, but, we went ahead and we got as we expected, and I think we fixed things here, which is good, so that's a positive. But, yeah, I've gone ahead and kind of lined up exactly with most of my predictions. You got one over me with the Nakamura. But besides that, it was pretty much as expected for War Games. Top to bottom, it was a lot of fun. And, they did a lot of things tonight to set up a lot for the future. I know you have a lot to say about a few different things. We'll get right into it, but
I got a lot to say about the world title match. We'll get there when we get there. It's not bad. It's just there's a couple layers to what I have to say. I think the biggest achievement overall, I mean, other than the main event is almost a separate conversation to have altogether. I think the biggest success we had here, and you and I touched on it briefly on the preview over on my channel, is I think we said either I said it or you said it and I agreed, or vice versa. The biggest surprise they could give us on this particular night would be no surprises.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
would
what
be
we
kind of
got.
what we got.
And it was in an era where we've had so many surprises, and the surprises have been awesome, and you and I have had lots to talk about. They kind of needed to do a show like this that showed, no, just what we're doing day by day can stand on its own. And it did tonight, and that was awesome. So the next time something comes along, when we get to Saturday night's main event or the first Raw on Netflix, or even maybe they'll pop off something at Deadline or whatever, then it'll be another surprise and it'll be impactful. But they gave us a card. They told us what the card was. The card stood on its own feet. And I think low key, I think it's not something everybody's going to talk about, but that's probably the biggest victory tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they really did a lot to also sell Saturday night's main event. And I'm glad we got your Skype reset on this screen as well. So we've got our duo cam, we got our main cam, we got the card back over there. Look at that, Lincoln Park. Oh, but so
yeah,
we
I still don't hear the music when you play the music. But
we got to figure that out, but that's okay. You know,
for anybody listening on my side, you guys know when Jake and I do this live, the audio will be eventually available over on my audio streams as well. So check in the next couple of days, Spotify, iTunes, Rumble, etc. But if you're on YouTube, you should be watching Jake's channel, and you should be watching the stream right now.
That's right. But also in the description box down below, people can check out not only our predictions for this show, what we think about happens in the future, the state of wrestling. That's right. You and I every week like to go ahead and podcast on your channels, multiple Rumble, Apple Podcast, you name it, you've got it. It's out there.
I have to get into the habit of calling it Apple Podcast. I'm still going to call it iTunes. I don't care.
Hey, it's okay. But still, you know, they
once Rumble kicks off a little bit more, I might lean a little less on YouTube because we know YouTube going to YouTube. But
yeah, but Apple Podcast has a great deal going on for Black Friday as well. You can still get a 3-day free membership, so you can try out any podcasts you want. You can listen to their entire libraries.
Nice.
So you can go ahead and give us a rating over there, and also go ahead and check out anything else you want, Wrestling Observer and so on. So
nice.
They have
Did not know
15,000 plus backups, but yeah, Black Friday, having fun. Starting off right away, the women's
shout out to DJ
match.
Anime in the chat.
Oh, always. Liz coming in strong. You know, we know it.
Giggity.
Hawksley Gaming. Holy shit, you found me. Been years indeed since I've seen Hawksley Gaming in there. That's wow. Blast from the past. That makes me feel good. Holy shit. That's one of those names that tickles you down. That's like 6 years going on plus since I've last seen them. Maybe 5. Wow. So the kickoff show, fantastic. Mwah. I like the fact that they have no matches on their kickoff show and that they want to make everything on the main card feel important. I feel like WrestleMania should have kickoff matches, but most other pay-per-views shouldn't. I feel like they should avoid that like the plague. And
they shouldn't. I wouldn't mind something they used to do back in the day where maybe there's an altercation during the kickoff and it leads to, at the last minute, one more match. Because WWE has proven themselves so thoroughly these days at, you know, sticking to what they say they're going to give us and making sure everything makes sense and, you know, nothing's done for no reason. I think they could afford to every now and then say, you guys know what you're here for, but here's a bonus.
Yeah,
I think they could utilize the, especially if the pre-shows are going to be 2 hours, like they're missable. It's the same video packages. Like I like you know, Big E, Michael Cole, Jackie Redmond specifically is a great host in that regard, along with who else is on there? The two radio guys that they always have in there, plus Bad News as well. They've got a pretty good rotating cast of like conversational characters, but there is that built-in thing of if you miss the kickoff, you haven't really missed anything, and the kickoff is 2 hours long. So
yeah, no doubt about it, but
something to draw the eye.
It never felt like it overstayed its welcome. It didn't feel like it was intrusive. None of it was an issue. All of it just flowed very well. And there's something to state about that. You know, Kathy Kelly, I believe it was, on the pre-show, and others talking about how, you know, it was a few of their first War Games matches, and it was nice to have, you know, Michael Cole coming, or no, Jackie Redmond, excuse me, and having her in the background. It was her first, and having William Regal come out there and talk to Kathy Kelly.
I wish
that
they had
was
brought
cool.
him out to the ring.
I wish so too, but hearing him yell "War Games" to close out the interview, that popped me.
But in the back though, like
I wish it was
just
out
have
there
him
too.
walk. Just like announce the first two late. Like don't do it twice. That's kind of lame. But like just have the two ladies make their entrances, whatever, and have him wander out, no music, whatever, look all unassuming, grab the microphone, "War Games," and then just fuck off backstage again. I thought that they could have done that. They did the thing backstage. They had a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, they had a good time. And shout out to Kincaid in the chat as well. Glad to see you as well, buddy. A lot of old names popping up in here. But holy hell, I really enjoyed this kickoff show. And I know that sounds a bit redundant, but the way that they had Redmond, Big E, Rosenberg, and I think it was Wade Barrett, right? They were the four. And they did let's talk about the OG bloodline. Let's talk, they explained the history of every match. They went in depth on everything, and it all made sense, and it was from different perspectives. Wade Barrett's an in-ring wrestler, and Jackie's, she got the female side of things. Big E, former in-ring competitor as well. Rosenberg, DJ Jock, bit of a cunt, but hey, it worked for me. There were things that were good on here. I want to give them credit. As well as Elizabeth Irving. The U.S. and Canadian national anthems.
That was really good, yeah.
Let's play ball. Let's shoot some hockey. I was ready to go. That was great. I do give credit to the crowd singing for their national anthem that had a nice little touch to it. I don't know. It's something about, I get you're not going to sing the Star Spangled Banner, but Oh Canada, you should be belting that out at times. And they hit what needed to, and it just made it feel special. And I like how WWE incorporates the noise meter. They bring up the decibel counter, and they're like, how loud are these fans? Oh, my God. You saw it brought up especially a lot during the Damian Priest match, funny enough, which you have a lot to say. So do I. We'll get into it. But the women's War Games.
I will say, though, you touched on the anthem. You touched on the anthem thing, and, it is a dual thing. Okay, yes, we are in Canada. Yes, we are an American company most of the time. And, yes, there's an international conversation to have there. When I was at Money in the Bank, when Money in the Bank was in Toronto, there was a lot of people that were just sort of mutually fist bumping and high fiving,
enjoying
and all that
each other. Just but like Cornelius T in the chat. What up, bud? So many great names popping up tonight. Wow, I feel moved. We need a Gorilla Strong sighting, and I think I'll be totally eclipsed.
Then you filled out your bingo card.
Exactly. No, I check that off my bucket list, buddy.
I watch enough American TV. I know the American anthem. It is what it is. And a lot of people, at least in my section up at the top there, were singing along with both, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's fun. But that camaraderie, that sense of inclusion. I watched this alone tonight. But the way it was televised, I didn't feel like I was watching it on my own. There's something about WWE production that I know I sound like an AEW hater, because there was points where AEW did things, that was brilliant, but they've lacked that for a while. They couldn't even do a one full camera take from the back to the front like WWE does the other day. And, it was like, oh, they had to cut a few times, huh? That's unfortunate. And I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on the other company, but I just want to state the excellence of WWE right now. The way they did the national anthem into the women's heel group, walking up, getting ready for their entrances, and they're like, that's where the kickoff ends. And it's like, oh, if I don't have access to Peacock, pay-per-view, whatever, I need to see this. It gave me that must-see TV feel.
Because as you say, we don't attempt to shit on AEW. We say something when we've got something to say. I'm gonna leverage.
I've got Tony in my DMs telling me, positives, and I want to be positive about things. I want to be excited, like when they had that 58-minute or 59-minute, 58-second pinfall, and it wasn't an hour time limit draw. Yeah. I want those things to happen, but we're just not getting it. Where WWE is delivering in spades, and unlike my New York Giants who suck, we're getting a consistent sellout. Our gate is record breaking every fucking time. That's also because
they need to
tickets
stop
are more
using,
expensive. Yeah, gate's a bit of a bitch.
They need to stop using the gate, because the gate thing, if they use the gate, it means they're not using the attendance. So that's a cell phone. And if the gate is high, that means they're overselling the tickets. What I was going to say,
it means they're charging more. Exactly. You nailed it, bud.
What I was going to say, and I want to say this is a mutual criticism for both companies, especially AEW, because one of their entrances for Full Gear, I think it was House of Black, had a live band playing them to the ring.
Yes.
So that, not so much here.
That was a great addition too, and that
was a great addition. I think it's kind of shit that was on the pre-show. I know I'm splitting hairs when I say that, but like the people that are there to be on the show, and I'm saying the same thing for the ladies tonight. This is a criticism mutually going to both companies. If I'm part of the show, especially one of the headlining like themed matches of the night, I don't want my entrance to be part of the kickoff. Maybe they don't care. But
no,
I
get
it's
that.
A little bit. It's because if somebody clicked on to just watch the pay-per-view, and some people do think the pre-shows are pretty disposable, then it looks like 10 women got the jobber entrance.
I want to give you a prime example right now. Could you imagine Charlotte Flair returning on the Kickoff show?
No.
Royal Rumble time, and she comes out and she attacks Chelsea Green. Just go with me. She's, Chelsea Green's the new U.S. Women's Champ, and she attacks her, and, I'm going to come back as a face, and on the Kickoff show.
Oh,
that's what they
did
with Jamie Hayter. Yeah, exactly. You picked right up on it. Yeah. And that's the thing that really upsets me. Like I added the graphic here. We have Saturday Night Main Event with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. That feels must see.
They are following through again.
A great throughput of story. Yeah, it's.
I hate to always. Not. I promise, guys. Not everything I say tonight is a plug for my podcast, but this is because we touched on it earlier. They are
many times.
They are following through on the promise that this is going to be a Saturday night show at a pay-per-view level.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know whether they could.
They made that feel special. And Casey is Raw knows it. Shout out to him and Liz again in the chat. Nakamura, he looks like a Sith combined with a feudal Japanese warrior, like a real Geishin Impact type thing. And it's a great thing. We'll get into it in a little bit, but did not see that coming. She agrees. Holy hell, that was awesome. And Saturday Night Main Event feels special. It really feels must see. And I like how they're doing the 80s graphics and they're doing the little touches on it. Like, oh, this is cool. I'm glad they didn't have The Rock tonight. I'm glad, we were all waiting for another Punk type surprise and we didn't get it. And I don't know if that's a bad thing, because of what we saw so far. I really feel like all in all, what we got was great tonight. They told so many stories and they advanced a lot of feuds. And right away, we'll get into the women's war games. So on the women's face side, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Naomi, and Bayley taking on Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, Rodriguez, Miss Raquel. Tiffany, it's Tiffy Time Stratton, and Candice LeRae. So right away we got Bayley and Nia Jax starting. The crowd was hot. I mean, super hot. Multiple chants for Bayley, going all out, shitting on Nia Jax. They made this feel special. And the women's face team had the advantage, which is usually a little bit awkward. But because it was Naomi coming in after, and it was 2-on-1 on Nia Jax, of all people, it made sense because she counts. And I'm not picking on her weight; it's not that, but she's a powerhouse, so she could take on two women.
It's a different dynamic when you've got a multiple. And we always have to be, and we should be saying the same thing about the guys and the girls. You're not, whenever we're talking about a big person or a large person or a chubby person or whatever, we're not talking about them in a derogatory. A Bronson Reed, a Yokozuna back in the day, a Vader back in the day, etc. Especially when you are building the dynamic in a multi-person match, you need somebody that's going to come in and, for lack of a better term, squash people, because it adds to the dynamic of the match. Either they're going to win because who the fuck is going to get
destroyed. Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is the thing. But either they're going to win because who the fuck is going to beat them, or somebody else is going to win and be like, oh my god, I can't believe they beat them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's
even if you're not
great
you're not a Zelina Vega fan, for example, if Zelina Vega pulled off a pin on Nia Jax. They had a great the Puerto Rico show we keep referencing, the match with her and Rhea Ripley. We didn't think she was going to win necessarily, but the fact that she held her own with Rhea Ripley was fantastic. Great. Because of that physical dynamic. So Nia Jax really contributed something in this match. She's not my favorite person.
I checked out some of Casey's review too. He got shit for giving Full Gear a 7 out of 10. And what happened to ratings? Like a 7 is not a failure. That's a C. No. That's average. Like that's not bad. There's some things on there that I would watch again. You see Meltzer giving Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher 5 1/4 stars, and I'm like, you didn't even give Angle.
5 out of 5 is a fail because they've broken the system.
Yeah, with him giving 6 and 7 stars, it's like you shot outside the moon. So what's the point? Saturday is Raw and episode 100 Casey had. So you guys make sure you check that out as well. Shout out to Casey is Raw in the chat. But yeah, the women, they had a very great story here. We saw Bianca come in, then Tiffany. And it just kind of escalated. We saw the fun spots with the toilet seat. I thought that was funny. Then we got Io Sky, and then Raquel, of course, Rhea Ripley, and then Liv Morgan. Liv comes in scared as shit, wants to die. And
can I say the most obvious thing on the planet?
Oh, absolutely.
Rhea Ripley is in the top 5 stars in that company.
No doubt.
Like the mask thing was awesome. They took something
with the horns
cool,
and the devil horns.
And the devil
she
horns
looked
and all that.
Like a fucking scary bitch. I don't even know how to overstate that. My God, she looks so cool.
I wish I had a better comparison.
She looked just she totally you felt emasculated looking at her. I felt like, God.
She gave vibes of Black Taurus when Black Taurus was in TNA and they knew how to present it.
Yes,
but less goofy and awkward and still hot as fuck. But I think the fact with her, not only the fact that she came in to have the mask, to say, you know what, if I have this mask, I'm going to use it as a mental advantage against my opponents, to then have the reveal of, oh, by the way, I don't actually need the mask. Pull it off. She's got the makeup on underneath.
Exactly. And she's got everything. And it was like a "this is awesome" chant broke out while also doing like a great moment.
And people are gonna laugh. Yes, it's a Canadian in Canada. It made me think of Bret Hart.
Yeah.
The sense of remember when Bret Hart wanted to fight Vince?
Yes.
And Vince was all too happy to sign it because he thought Bret's leg was fucked. And then they signed the contract, and then Bret
got out of the wheelchair, and
she does the whole match up until Liv entering with the mask on, so that they think she has a disadvantage. Meanwhile, makes the mask look cool, adds to the whole aesthetic of the match. To her whole.
She had the element of like an early Kane feel to it, where like there was this sense of dread every time they shot on her. You were like, oh my God, Liv's gonna die. Like it had that impending doom sense.
In the opposite of what Kane had, though, especially in his early days, Kane had to show his menace by moving real slow and meticulous and like a Michael Myers type character.
Yeah.
And Rhea Ripley is the opposite.
She's explosive. She's fiery.
At the same time.
Exactly. And
she's
choke poke, owe me a Coke. But you and I are synced and simpatico, my friend. They had a really like the bat moments were cool, and then Belair catching the bat and taking it away from Morgan. Before that, the double takeout from both sides. Io Sky with the trash can. The hair thing is always dumb, but the trash can moment could not be overstated. That is the sixth member of the team. Io Sky taking out that trash can was great.
Io Sky being the legend of War Games because she's the only one that's been in every single one of them. I really love. Because she's not the most directly involved. I know she has a title shot against Liv Morgan coming up sometime soon, probably at Saturday Night's Main Event. But she's not the most involved. Like Bayley has a deep story. Bianca has a deep story. Ripley has a deep story. The champions all have deep stories. Io is kind of on the fringe. So I'm glad they kept her in the conversation because Io shouldn't be on the fringe. She's fucking fantastic. And it's not, oh my God, that's so corny. Why would there be a garbage can like just for her in there? Because she was smart and she thought in advance and she put it there.
I mean, I didn't just put a garbage can over your face for a little bit. No, I mean, but
okay,
absolutely. You and I are both trashy, my friend. But look at this garbage can. I mean,
that's awesome.
It was such a great moment. And then Tiffany coming off the other cage, they didn't even capture great. They really didn't. And I was destroyed inside because Tiffany killed herself to barely get noticed with that moment. And I was like, oh, that's upsetting. But you know what?
Here's the thing too, because I praised them both separately, but they squared off at one point in the match, and it wasn't very long. Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton is not a match I had thought of until tonight, and now it's a match I really want to see.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And, you know, we got, and not to overstate it, but like so many different stories came out of this. And I think probably...
Sorry, I got to stop you. Casey is raw. You're absolutely right. It is still the Sky Dome. Don't let anybody tell you differently.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think the best story from this night has to be probably the outfits. I mean, if I'm going to let myself be a little bit pervy, I've got to do it. I'm sorry, my friend, but look at this. Liv's ass... I mean, when Io got up top and went to go ahead and dive, oh my God, with the trash can, talk about cake day, my friend. But holy God.
Sorry.
Danny came down and she says to me, holy asshole, to Rhea. She's like, I can see her asshole. And I'm like, you're not wrong. I mean, really, but.
My hole. Okay, I do have to go back to the EO thing for a second, because she's done the crossbody with the can a lot to the point where people actually expected to do her. It's a little bit different when she did an actual over the moonsault with it, because you're now you're coming off the cage upside down,
full rotation,
hoping that people catch you, not able to see.
I mean, full rotation there. My God, that was impressive. That's what I'm talking about. Like, the women just left it all out there. They killed it. That was nuts. I've got the clip here, and, you know, it's like just holy hell. I don't even know how to even state, you know, half of what she did there. It was just incredible. It was truly incredible. Yeah. And, I mean, we go ahead and we see some of it here, and, it was just nuts, you know?
Yeah, she's the greatest. Like, she is.
She was absolutely phenomenal. And, I mean, look at this dive here. This was insane. I mean, absolutely insane. Yep. And just right off the top, both of them too. Tiffany does the forward front dive. Io does the, you know, backwards dive with the trash can. Full rotation with the trash can covering her head. I mean, totally insane. Give it up for the
Tiffany
women.
has pretty much taken the swanton and made it hers with Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy re-signing with Impact, and we don't know if we're going to see them in any kind of crossover thing, so we're not going to see swantons from very many people. She's kind of made it her own, and again, they've got her playing sort of the lackey character right now, but holy fuck, she's holding a lot of talent behind that Barbie doll gimmick and that lackey persona.
I mean, yeah, no, she's certainly gone ahead and made things her own, you know? We don't know what the favor is. We don't know what Punk owes Rome, or Punk is owed by Paul Heyman, excuse me. I mean, there's so many elements to this at this point in time that, like, Survivor Series was fun. They told a lot of great stories. The women killed each other. It seems like Rhea is really, truly owed her women's title match now. She captured
she pinned the champion
by pinning the champion. Yeah, exactly. So that was great. And I think that's a great way to lead. I think they're going to have something at Saturday Night Main Event. How does Rhea not win there? I mean, hard work from everyone involved. I don't think it'll
be at Saturday Night's Main Event, because in the middle they did establish at one point that Io Sky has a title shot.
I know she does too, but like Saturday Night's Main Event, something's got to happen. And people were like, "Oh, it should have been a Survivor Series elimination match." I'm like, "No, they changed it to War Games." They're doing, obviously the men's and women's. Yeah, men's War Games, incredible. Women's just as well. They both did things on a different level. Raquel being handcuffed, and then the shot with the fire extinguisher. Candice getting destroyed at several points.
Who was it that brought in the fire extinguisher? It was Io, right?
It was Io, yeah.
The fact that she didn't spray it at anybody, she sort of fogged the whole ring to let Rhea do the handcuff spot.
Exactly.
When Liv was digging through the trash can, and we thought it was kind of an S&M bag for a second, because out came the chains, out came the ropes, out came everything but the whips.
The Oblivion at the end, though, when Rhea got the win, I'm sorry, but that was incredible. And
you mean the Riptide?
Or excuse me, Riptide. Yeah.
They went for an Oblivion that was.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, the Oblivion got reversed into the Riptide eventually.
But she basically matrixed to sell the fact that she almost did the Oblivion. Before we get into the finale, I do want to say one thing, because it kind of ties into the main event as well. We had mentioned, and I've mentioned with other people as well, if you look at the Bloodline 2.0, it looks like the tag team of that group should be Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed, which we wouldn't have put together until they put him in with the Bloodline. You know who was working really well as a duo in this match was Nia Jax and Raquel Rodriguez.
Absolutely.
Doing the power
again,
stuff.
we were talking about Rhea before. I wanted to bring this up earlier. When you said with the mask and all the features and then the makeup underneath, but the mask, my God, I mean, the way she sold it, it just made her feel superhuman, like a real demon. It was nuts.
Yep.
And it led into, like you said, the storytelling.
I was kind of curious. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, yeah.
I was kind of curious. I'm not going to lie, only in the sense of people that wrestle in masks all the time are used to it, and the potential periphery issues that may or may not come up. Like somebody like a Rey Mysterio would wrestle with a mask on because he's wrestled his whole life and not think anything of it. I was thinking, I had the briefest thought of, is she going to go in there first time actually wrestling with the mask on, and is there going to be an adjustment? Not saying, oh my God, is she going to botch, but is there going to be, because early on when we had the first couple of people in the match and there was some really, really awkward chair shots, there was a couple of spots at the beginning. I got to say this to be fair to the people that are going to be critical. There was some choppy spots in the first early go into this match. And I'm thinking, okay, if we're having a couple of choppy spots and we have somebody now with potentially limited vision, at least until she took the mask off, I was just like, let this be really cool. Don't let it be a detriment. Let it be really cool. Let's make it, work properly and be as cool as they're trying to make it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They did.
You're talking about some of the bad chops here. I mean, you can see them easily stated. Yeah, you can tell some of it was like, look at that, just a little chop there, but not great. But you're right.
The unfortunate thing about that is,
but it worked.
It
worked for what we expected. I mean, did we expect any less with Tiffany?
Yeah.
I mean, Tiffany Stratton looked amazing throughout. And with her not coming out with the briefcase, you're like, oh, we've got that sold. We've got that
You're here for survival.
And we're like, oh, my God. And again, here, we got the little War Games chant.
War Games!
By Regal, War Games. And... But yeah, like you said, the chair shots weren't great. It's okay to be, it's okay to be critical.
Yeah.
But I love the cinematic preview we got the other day on SmackDown between Roman and Punk.
The sit down?
Yeah, the sit down. And what they tried to do with the women beforehand coming out live, I was like, okay, this is different enough that it makes it feel special.
Yeah.
And the women had that live feel, as where they had that. I hate saying cinematic, but you know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Cinematic feel. So with the women having this oh shit, really beat take home, both faces win, but it makes sense. Rhea's gonna go for the title at some point, even if Io's got next in line. Hey, fuck it, whatever. Let's do it. And I'm all for it. Io Sky killed it tonight. I'm sorry, the women. They did excellent. I love Rhea winning.
They did, yeah.
And
a lot of people are saying that the advantage going to the baby faces doesn't make sense and it sets off the whole match. I think they did it.
I think
properly.
They did it great because they had 2-on-1 versus Nia Jax, and then who they used going forward, it always made sense where it felt like, okay, 2-on-3, but the two have the advantage in a way.
But the thing about it is though, I used to have this conversation because they used to do this thing on NXT where the advantage match was a ladder match. And it was like, why would you do one gimmick match to get into another one? And then the injury with Mia Yim happened and all that sort of thing. And I'm like, and like that's how you sell war games. You're selling that war games is so dangerous. You're willing to go through a ladder match.
You're willing to go through a ladder
advantage.
match, yeah, to get the advantage. You want that desperation, that sense of urgency, that sense of like I need to survive.
I need every advantage I can. So when the baby faces go in and they've got the numbers advantage, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's really Healy that they have the numbers advantage." No, they're enjoying an advantage that they've earned.
Yes.
And in a more realistic point of view, Rhea Ripley had the real life issue with her face and whatnot, and her being dramatically the last person into the match made sense just because, okay, let's have her be a fucking rock star as she is.
Yeah, exactly.
But give her limited time. Let her drop the last couple of bombs rather than having her in for the whole half hour or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Only because, as much as you can in a War Games match, you want to protect the person that just had a broken face.
Exactly. And
I can't stand. Sorry, I know I cut you off again.
No, go right ahead.
I was watching.
Don't ever apologize.
Yeah, I was watching on social media, whatever reactions as we go, because I pull up the end new and still graphics for when I'm following on, and every single post that had a Team Rhea wins, Team Rhea wins, Team Rhea wins. Every single one of them had some dickhead under quote tweeting it or tweeting underneath it. Don't you mean Team Bianca? It's like no. If we meant Team Bianca, we would have said Team Bianca. Fuck off.
Exactly. It's Team Rhea, and they tried to say Team Bianca, but every year is it not Io Sky's match?
It is.
So I'm sorry, but it's like,
Io
hey,
Sky's match. But
we're gonna let you capture this. We're gonna let you take it. Where you think you're going, asshole?
Rhea's a bigger star. It's like on the other side, there's two champions on there, but the main issue that spurned all this was Liv and Rhea. So it's Team Rhea versus Team Liv.
No, you're absolutely right.
Liv's had a better year than most people want to admit, and Rhea is, I'm sorry, and there's a lot of people in there that are like, we're going to get Becky back soon, we're going to get Bliss back soon, we're going to get Charlotte back soon. I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley, by leaps and bounds, is the biggest star they have in that division.
Yeah, absolutely. Until they get Becky back, until they get Charlotte, Rhea's top of the mountain. No, you're absolutely right.
I think even when they do come back, they better do some scratching and clawing to get back that spot they want, because it's Rhea's spot right now.
It is her spot, and I think she's going to get the title back soon enough, honestly. I really do.
I do want to see her and Tiffany at some point, because I think that would be that's a weird match I want to look at.
And it is, it's like...
I feel sorry. The reason that I brought up Nia and Raquel Rodriguez earlier and how well they work together, if you look at the two champions and their respective backup, it feels like the people that they've chosen to back them up have been reversed. Like it feels like Raquel should be with Nia because they'd be a powerhouse team, and that Tiffany would fit being with Liv Morgan. Maybe that's just me because I saw Liv and Tiffany reacting off of each other quite a bit, and like I said, with the two powerhouses, it feels like they should swap sidekicks almost. And then Candice LeRae, let's please just do something give her the U.S. title if you're not going to give it to Chelsea.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it really does feel like that.
But
we'll see, But after that, we went ahead and we headed right into LA Knight taking on Nakamura for the U.S. Championship. Not a lot of build, but they made Nakamura look like a credible champion. They really did here. I feel like they did all they could.
I really wish that somebody before this show had stuck their head up above the sand and said, you know what? If he's coming out of nowhere, maybe this is going to be the shock win we all need. I really wish somebody had brought that up before maybe on a preview of sorts. I'm a dickhead. I was right, and I'm going to celebrate being right. I wasn't right about the other one, though, so it is what it is.
And we saw that happen, We saw it happen over and over again as we kind of expected. And I brought up the winners on the side here, as you can see.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was not... we knew a title was going to change hands. Triple H said it before. He made it kind of pretty emphatic that, hey, you guys are expecting surprises. Something's going to happen. that you're not
all through the
expecting.
kickoff, they were beating it over the head that no title has ever changed in Vancouver. And that's when I went to you and I said, I think they're going to try and kill this and try to move all the titles. They didn't do
Yeah,
that.
they didn't, and I wish. I mean, we kind of skipped over it, but in the women's match, Tiffy did bring out her briefcase
Yep.
finally, and she went to cash in. That's when Raquel got involved, and she was like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" That led to the handcuff spot with the fire extinguisher and whatnot. But yeah, LA Knight always looked like he was at a mental disadvantage in this match. Like Nakamura got into his head. I like the way they sold that. I'm upset the crowd was kind of quiet at times, but the title change really shocked people. And
I mean,
it was a
was coming
short
off of the
match. It was
cage match
9
as well.
minutes
Like
and
they were
45
kind of in a death
seconds.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, they were in that hard spot where they really had to sell. And it's like Nakamura gets a scorpion death drop onto the steel plate that covers like the two rings, and that's when Knight was just fucked.
Yeah, so one shot to the head and
hits
then
him
a
in the
Kinshasa.
eyes, gets a Kinshasa, and that was it. And it's like, yep, you're done for, buddy.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be a dick again and say that I was right. But when I was mentioning that to you, and I was just
I'm okay
like,
with you being a dick and saying you were right.
I want it to be a surprise. I need a shock because as things are going really really well, it does make it kind of predictable. So this win coming out of nowhere would be kind of cool. Even as I was saying it, it was kind of just. Did we just go dark again?
Nope.
Is that
I'm
what
giving you your own screen there.
Hey, look at that. It was still kind of a. Hey, this would be really cool if they decided to go this way. I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen. Halfway through his entrance, I was like, yeah, they're giving him the belt.
Yeah,
Because look what they've done with his I like what they've done with his entrance, how it's all dark and I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about Japanese culture, but sort of culturally infused, and it's.
Do you think Nakamura loses
stoic.
the title at Saturday night's main event? Does he defend it there? Do we see LA Knight get the title back that quick? What do you think? I'm curious.
I think they're going to let it settle that he's the champion. I think much like we didn't have any tag matches or any proper ladies title matches tonight, I think this will be where they'll go to Saturday night's main event and focus on different like at Saturday night's main event, they're focusing on the WWE title. They may not necessarily focus on the world title. World title got focused tonight. They're crowning their first ladies U.S. title, so I think they'll just let that be the focus for a bit. But I just halfway through his entrance, I was just like, they're doing something with him here, and the entire match from the opening bell to the end was just like, okay, he's winning, and it's not a steamroller in a burial kind of way, but just straightforward ahead with this idea that okay, he's come to go home with that belt tonight. I'm going to double down on what I said a couple of days ago. I think you move LA Knight to Raw and give him a different couple of sets of opponents, maybe get him in the IC mix or give him a one shot against the world title because he's not getting into that Rock Roman Cody mix. Yeah, I think he's moving. And I mean, he's a big superstar character. He's the kind of guy that you want on Raw for the Netflix debut. And yes, I am like much like we say Saturday night's main event isn't really a pay-per-view, but it kind of is. That first main Raw on Netflix is gonna feel like a pay-per-view that night as well. So well, John Cena is going to be involved in Elimination Chamber. They announced a day or two ago, so I'm gonna see John Cena. Hey, boom. Yep, yep. I think it's the first. Hold on. Oh, somebody in the chat is saying they can't hear you, bud. Liz, can you hear us now? Boom. Keep talking. Somebody in the chat, let us know if you can hear us.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully now you can hear us.
Hey.
I'm not sure why it decided to go ahead
and
mute itself, but you can hear me. The chat should be able to hear us now. I'm glad Liz let us know, so thank you.
The wonders of going live.
Exactly.
This is why I get you to do this.
Well, you know, we're trying to add things on the fly, and it was just not functioning. But she said I can hear Spaz, but not Jake. I think you should be able to hear me now. I am pretty sure I went ahead. Now you can hear us both.
Hey.
Excellent. Thank you, Liz, for letting us know. I think it just managed to mute itself. But as I was saying, they went ahead.
When this goes to audio, it's going to be really confusing for some people.
Right? Some people are just going to be so confused for a few seconds, but that's okay. You know, trying to edit things on the fly never works out as you want it to. But thank you, Liz, for letting us know. You were an amazing advantage to have live. Holy hell, because I would not have known that happened for quite a bit. And then it probably would have been just way too long. So, hey, look at that super kick. But we went ahead and we got right into the Intercontinental triple threat here. And holy hell, was this match a heartbreaking affair. I text you because I genuinely felt like, oh my God, Sheamus is going to get it. They allowed me to be baited hook, line, and sinker. Fuck your Continental Classic. Fuck everything else you have planned. This was what I was looking forward to, and it delivered by 110%. So Sheamus eventually, partially through, got the closest 3 count you could ever imagine that was interrupted. And I mean, oh my God, Kaiser breaks this up and starts beating him with the shillelagh after we just see the closest 3 count you could ever imagine. The crowd is chanting, "This is awesome." I really thought that was going to be it. I for a second bought in, like, holy hell, we saw the U.S. title change. Now Sheamus is going to be the Intercontinental Champion. They got me. That doesn't happen often. They got me here. Good. I don't know about you, Spaz, but they got me.
I'm okay with Breakker winning. I wasn't heartbroken by the near fall, but it was impressive. I thought he had it. I think a triple threat match is a really hard thing to do where everybody comes out looking okay, but I think in this case this match did everything that it needed to do for everybody. Breakker still looks like $1 million. You've got from a emotional observer point of view, you've got a little hint of what that euphoria is going to be like when Sheamus does get his moment. And the biggest thing, for me anyways, or the biggest struggle, I guess, this was a coming out party for, what's his name? Ludwig.
Oh, absolutely.
Sort of stepping up, being one of the big boys, not being just, hey, it's that guy that goes around with Gunther all day. Like, he stepped up and laid in his fists and his shots. And
well, before that, he hits the Celtic Cross, and then all of a sudden he gets a broad kick, and he lays over Braun Breakker. He's got him beat 1, 2, 3, and Kaiser pulls the referee out. And it was just so disheartening and so in the best way possible. Like, my God. Because it only makes you want to see Sheamus get the win more.
Well, that's what I mean. It gave you that.
He rolls out of the
for
ring.
Anybody that wasn't hungry for it already, it gives it more
makes
of that.
You even more just diabolically starving to see Sheamus win. And that's why I was okay with it, because it only builds to the lore of Sheamus needing to be the Triple Crown or Quad Crown champ, however you want to call it. The Grand Slam.
It reinforces to me what we talked about the other day, too, of make us more and more and more hungry for it. You know exactly what you're doing. And when it happens, he is going to get a night that's his. It's going to be a special episode of Raw, or it's going to be a B pay-per-view.
Royal Rumble or a Mania pay-per-view. I think it's going to be
a week. It'll be a weekly thing.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a weekly episode of Raw. And
especially
on
Netflix, they're going to want to make that
big. It'll be a main event, and he'll have his like fireworks and streamers moment for it. Because
and then he can defend it at Mania, even if he loses it, as long as he defends it. I mean, great. Yeah. And then we got Gunther and Damian Priest. I know you have a lot to say here. I'm going to let you start while I grab my refresh here. Go ahead, sir. I'll be listening.
Okay, so this was an awesome match. It told an awesome story. It did a lot of things that made sense. It didn't give me the result that I wanted, but it told you all kinds of story. These guys both beat the hell out of each other. Where this fell down for me is the majority, like the first 75% of the match, where this match really tried to be a hard-hitting, we're laying our bombs in affair, not because they weren't doing it, but they were doing it off the back of Sheamus, Ludwig, and Breaker doing the exact same thing. And 3 guys dropping bombs on each other is going to be more effective than 2. I think the character work by Damian Priest has come on leaps and bounds. I think the idea that we're chipping away at the confidence of Gunther is amazing. I think what they did and how their styles came together and how they then switched to, yes, we're big guys, but we can also do this with some Hurricane Rana spots off the top by Priest and some really intricate multiple submission mat wrestling from Gunther. I think it was all amazing. I think in the early going, as it would when you were just throwing bombs at each other, and it was the next logical step from them lobbing, what would you want to say, like promo bombs at each other. When people always say, when you've been spitting fire at each other for weeks and weeks and weeks, you don't want to have the bell ring and then just lock up for a collar and elbow. You want to punch the guy in the mouth. And that's what they did here. Except, again, if you're going to be dropping bombs like that, you're doing it after a Sheamus match. You're doing it after a Braun Breaker match. You're doing it after a match where Gunther's immediate subordinate was really showing his own in that regard. So not to say that they weren't doing it as well, but they had sort of a peak to meet coming off of the match that came before them. I think I may have, in hindsight, put the triple threat first and then put the LA Knight shock in the middle just to break up the 2 matches being similar in that regard. The story going back to Damian Priest and the Judgment Day was something I thought was going to happen eventually. I really did think sooner or later when he gets back into it, you're going to have that, I'm Finn Balor, I've intentionally kept myself away, but I am going to pop back up to make sure you don't succeed in anything. And I like that. I love that as the story, as WWE being deep in story as it is, but I also felt that
absolutely.
I also felt that genuine, if we do this, we're kind of underlining that he's still associated with the Judgment Day, and he's not necessarily in the mid card. Like, you can be fighting Finn Balor for the chance to get back to that title again, but it's like you've had a clean break.
I appreciated Gunther hitting him too. Yeah, I mean that made short work of it.
Well, this is the thing. This is okay. Again, alternate side of it. This is what I love, because Gunther beating him for the title in the first place has an asterisk next to it because of Finn Balor. Yeah. Now his title defense has an asterisk against Finn Balor. So you're chipping away, like Finn Balor
is chipping away at Damian Priest, but Gunther also a few times because Priest goes for the South of Heaven chokeslam. Yeah, his arm gives out. And then Gunther just keeps chopping the bad arm over and over and over, and Priest can't. And he just struggled, and eventually he gets to the bottom rope, and he pulls out of the Kimura lock, and you could see Gunther.
That Kimura where he also had his head locked looked like a fucking pretzel.
That looked painful, but I love the way Gunther showed frustration.
Yes.
You could see where the doubt comes in. He was so focused on choking out Cody Rhodes to the point where he went ahead and fucked himself into losing that match. And shout out to Big Glenn. Shout out to you in the chat as well. But yeah, Finn Balor will continue to be a thorn in his side. I like that they told this story, honestly, because a lot of people are upset. And they're like, oh, leave him alone with the Judgment Day thing. But Why would Finn Balor let him win the title? Finn Balor still has his, world championship or U.S. whatever fucking tag team championship.
See, this is where you got to draw the difference between, like, who are you mad at the character or are you mad at the writers? Yes. As a character, I think it's great. I think it makes all the sense in the world that Finn Balor, being the dickhead that he is, would want to say, hey, you might have left us, but I'm going to make sure you don't succeed. My frustration is now outside. It's that meta, I'm mad at the writers thing, because it's like, okay, let him be off and do his own thing, which is being frustrated in the kayfabe, being frustrated out of the kayfabe are two different things. But
people said it started slow, but I'm like, no, they started with a great story with the shoulder.
Yeah.
And basically making it state that, like, oh, Finn is going to fuck him over. Yeah. But before that, Priest can't get the South of Heaven because of his injured shoulder.
And that's what made the
tapping even more like of enough of a story, because they're trying to protect Priest, yeah, but they're also stating, like, yeah, Gunther's a powerhouse, but Finn cost him. Finn made him fucked.
But see, here's the hypocrite that I am, though, because as much as I would love to see Damian Priest, I want awesome things for Damian Priest. I said the other day, he, as far as being like that Street Fighter type character, I think he's approaching Mike Santana levels now that he's made that character shift, and I mean that in the most positive way possible. On the other side of the coin,
I feel that, other side, though, how do you feel? Do you feel more like, okay, I want to see Priest and Balor, or do I care about where Gunther goes next? Because I'm kind of more intrigued with, like, where are they going with Gunther from here? Are we going to see him and fucking, Goldberg squash each other? What's going to happen there? Or is it just going to be a lead to Mania with Gunther? It seems like he's going to hold on to it.
That if they don't do Punk Rollins, I think the story of Mania is going to be Punk Gunther, which I'm absolutely fine with.
Which I'm really good with too, yeah.
Here's the thing. I want Priest to be in the title picture, right? I want Priest to get that title back, because I think this time around, like, he's already held it once. He won't have that, oh my God, I have to prove that I actually can carry this, because he's already done it.
Yeah.
The first time around, he was doing a bit of that. It looked like he was a little bit more relaxed after they took the belt off him. He's done all this character stuff and whatnot. I want him to sort of pull away from the Judgment Day, because if he's left the Judgment Day but still feuding with them, then his identity still kind of revolves around them, even though he's out. So I do want him to have that clean break. On the other side of the coin, and this is where I say I'm a hypocrite, I am desperate to see Finn Balor.
You, right?
I am desperate to see Finn Balor get back in that world title picture. Yeah, and I think he does that. I think he does that through Priest.
Okay, so if he decimates Priest and takes him out while being a tag champ, he can also say he can go for the world title with Gunther.
I don't think they're going to have the tag title, but I don't think they're going to have the tag titles very much longer, because they're teasing dissension in the Judgment Day and whatever.
Especially with Liv losing here, and I hope they break up the New Judgment Day sooner than later. We don't really need them to be a thing. You can have JD and Finn still be a team without Judgment Day, and Dom with Liv and Raquel could be their own thing. But basically, I don't care about the Judgment Day at this point. I want to see them. I don't even care if they get destroyed, sadly. Like, it's gone past that with them. I want to see Finn Balor destroyed by Damian Priest, but not the Judgment Day. So, booking's been interesting. It does leave a bit to be desired, but I understand why people are upset.
Yeah,
because Gunther goes where,
match, and I think they told a really cool story with it. I just think,
but where does Gunther go from here? I'm truly asking you. Like, what do we see him and Seth for a little bit? Do we see, like, that's a thing? Like, I'm not sure.
Give me a second. Because I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to pull up the roster, and I'll see if I can come up with somebody creative.
I would love for you. Bronson Reed seems like he's going to stay involved with the Bloodline.
Well, there was a match that we were going to see until somebody got themselves in a bit of cancel culture trouble. And, I mean, if we need a big, high marquee match before we get into WrestleMania season, I mean, Heyman's back. Heyman was with two of his guys tonight.
Yes.
One of them is still
a wise man and an advocate.
Yeah, I mean, a one-off exhibition.
I could see them
Lesnar,
saving that,
Gunther.
though. I could see Lesnar not even being picked up at this point, because Lesnar would have to squash Gunther if he makes his return, realistically.
I don't know, because
Lesnar makes his return and loses. I mean, that's a
Triple
That's
H's.
a weird thing. I know it is.
Triple
I
H's
know it
thing,
is.
yeah.
But that sounds so bizarre to me, to have Brock come back and be a phenom yet lose. Especially to Gunther. I mean, that really puts him over, but that also undersells Brock. They seem like they did not want to exclude Brock from... They had him in 2K24. They took him out because of the lawsuit.
Yep.
Doesn't seem like their plans revolved around that lawsuit being Brock eccentric. So, lo and behold, I mean...
See, other matches that I would love to see.
I'm not saying allegedly, but they were planning on going a different way. And I get it. So Lesnar may or may not have participated in some of the hey, that bitch needs to get fucked kind of thing, but it doesn't seem like he took advantage of the situation or really did anything with her, and that's why he hasn't been dragged into all of this. He was just texted and included. I got an idea.
I got an idea. So you've got a bevy of champions on Raw, like we do on all brands. What if we go in the old direction of, hey, I might not have that title, but I do have a title, and Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion, wants to prove himself against the World Champion?
That could be great. I mean, shout out to Irish Dave in the chat as well. But yeah, I mean, that would be eccentric and eclectic. I would love to see that, but
it's something you could do as an exhibition. It's something you can do as a one and done, as sort of like like you say, as an offshoot, as something to keep them both busy. Because if we don't come back around to Sheamus, I don't know what we do with Breaker right now either.
I really don't.
Unless somebody brand new steps up and sticks their head above the sand.
If we take out Ludwig and Sheamus, who does Breaker go with? That's kind of an issue too. I think there's a long-term story, depending on his recovery, because I don't know what his injury is. But I think there's a story with Ilya Dragunov as well. That's a given. Yeah, I just
like here's
don't
the thing.
know
Ilya
how
Dragunov
his
has
appears.
Yeah, because depending on who's going to be champion when, Ilya Dragunov. Why did I say it? Why did I say it like I was from Boston? There, that was Dragunov. But if you think about it, Ilya Dragunov has history with both current singles champions on Raw.
Okay.
So he's got he's got a lot of history with Gunther, obviously, and then more recent NXT history before they came to the main roster with Breaker as well. Because there was that big triangle feud between him and Breaker and sort of like the team of Carmelo and Trick.
Yeah.
Like they all sort of orbited
I remember that.
the NXT title for a little while.
For a little bit.
Yeah. So they're not strangers to anybody.
And then of course we had the men's War Games, and not to overstate
I want to touch on something that people probably don't care about, but I want your opinion on it anyways.
Super kick.
It was
one more super kick.
It was a really big thing a while ago, especially. I think it was more so driven by the fact that people don't like Logan Paul, but when they first revealed the Prime logo on the wrestling ring, right? Yeah. It was a huge thing. Oh, we don't need it. You know, this might be the one thing Vince was right about, blah, 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 blah. And then we all got used to it in like 5 seconds. There was a lot of advertising on the ring tonight. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I did find myself noticing it. Do you have a take on that at all?
I mean, I would just agree with you. Yeah, it was certainly obvious. Big Glenn said in the chat before, he's like, Finn Balor, always a thorn in Damien's side, but also Breaker needs new opponents or what? Move him to the world championship picture? Yeah, I don't think he's a world champion just yet. I mean, realistically, yes. But for where they have him, I feel like he's going to hold this title for a little bit, and then eventually who does he face in the meantime? Probably some throwaway champions or former champions, and then he gets himself involved with Sheamus again at Mania, and that's
the only other one I can think of.
Unless they do it on Netflix, like you said before. Yeah.
The only thing I can think of for him, if they're not going to leave Bronson Reed in the bloodline on SmackDown, which honestly, I wouldn't care if they did, just kind of brush it over, like don't really explain it. Yeah, he's in the bloodline, so he's on SmackDown now. I would forget about it pretty quickly. If that's not the case, and if he is remaining on Raw where he was, because Braun Breaker right now is not, he doesn't lean exceptionally heel or exceptionally babyface. He's like asshole tweener. Like he could face a heel believably. He could face a face believably.
Yeah.
Have him go a couple of rounds with Bronson Reed. Just two guys that the company seems to be very behind. I do think it's, getting back to Braun Breaker again, it is a pretty cool feeling to get on board with a guy that you're behind, knowing the company is behind him as well. Like when we were all behind Punk the first time in the like pipe bomb days, if he had the company backing instead of Cena, it kind of feels like that's where we are with Braun Breaker right now. It feels like a
different impact.
It feels like we're riding a wave with Braun Breaker that the company is also behind, and that's a pretty cool. It's like in general right now.
That sounds like a super kick to me. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, we've said enough, but you're not wrong there. And
Reed would be an awesome opponent because they seem to be behind Reed and supporting him this time around.
Especially with him being in the bloodline, like they could tell a good story there. So of course, in the end, we got Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Bronson Reed, Jacob Fatu, the Werewolf Samoan, and Solo Sikoa taking on Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, CM Punk. So we had Tama Tonga, who was in the War Games cage, climbing around like a total maniac, just scaling the cage, looking insane. I love that. That was fantastic. And Jey Uso comes to the crowd. Now he's the
last one out.
Yeah, would they come out together? Would they be a unified, unit? And that's not what we got. The OG bloodline, not as unified as you would like, but the new bloodline came out all as one, truly defined, ready to go. Ulafala around Solo Sikoa's neck. We got Roman, Jimmy, Jay, Sammy, and CM Punk on the other side.
I think. Can I tell you something?
Yes,
First of all,
please.
I love Jay coming out last. First of all, the type of entrance he does gets the crowd involved and all that kind of thing. He's getting the spotlight he deserves right now. I think the idea of Bloodline 2.0 coming out together and the original Bloodline coming out separately, go with me because I'm going to try and make this make sense. It's a huge win for WWE, them coming out separately. And the only other example I can use is The Shield. The Shield came in together as a 3-person unit, and look what awesome 3 individuals they are now, right? Now, okay, CM Punk's kind of a separate scenario, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the OG bloodline, they all moved together as a unit. They all came out to the ring together. No matter who they were, they all came out to Roman's music most of the time. It was a while before we got back to them being able to be the Usos again and rah. Now you've got 5 stars that can have 5 entrances and get 5 pops. That's a huge. It's in storyline. It's
massive.
We're gonna let main event Jey Uso be the main event, but
here's the thing: we saw Jacob Fatu. He got a solo entrance on SmackDown with the fire and everything, and my God, was that incredible! So you make a great point there with the solo entrances.
But this is what I'm saying: like this is where the balance is between the two. Is you brought out Solo Sikoa's group as one unit because in his mind, he wants to come out and say, look at all these people I have behind me. The OG bloodline and CM Punk is a different kind of confidence because look at the 5 individuals you have to deal with. You just want a stack of people behind you. We're a stack of people that came together to kick you.
Yes.
The fisheye cameras that they had inside the individual cages, watching the guys getting ready to come out. The fisheye effect always makes everything look funny.
Yeah,
nobody looks serious. Nobody looks pissed off through a fisheye lens.
No, no doubt.
With this and with the ladies as well, doing high flying stuff, and you're in a cage, so you're not only doing high flying stuff off of the top rope, you're doing high flying stuff off the top of the cage as well, means you need to use a higher camera, means you get some incredible shots of that very full building in Vancouver.
Yeah, they were sold out to the brim, and you get some great angles.
They had crane cameras above the cage, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it was just the hard cam from the one
side.
No,
they had those going high.
Above,
and then on top of it, like I said, inside, as you mentioned, the cages, we saw Roman stop CM Punk from going in, then CM Punk cut off Roman at the end. That was a great moment. I mean, Paul Heyman walking out and yelling, this is War Games. You need to work together. You got to bring out the best in each other.
I'm going to nail down something that you've mentioned so many times. Yes, please do. Go watch another show, let's just say another show, and to get the kind of reaction, you would have to drop somebody on a brick or stab them in the face with a needle or do 27, lumberjack flip
3 tables
off
are
of
broken
off of a scissor lift onto a flaming table, right? And you will not get the ooh and ah reaction that you got when Punk shoulder checked Roman Reigns and just to leave the cage.
Exactly. Just to come through. And
because not only are we reacting to those little things.
What about Paul Heyman, though? He came out and he's like, you guys have to bring out the best in each other. You have to work together. You have to be together. This is War Games. He screams it, and that's right as the bell rings for the War Games match itself.
And who is the best? I'm sorry. There's no way I can say this without sounding like a dick.
You have to, yes.
There's no way I can say this. Who is the best person, from a moral stand-up guy point of view, who is the best good guy in this match? Oh, it's CM Punk.
Absolutely.
Because he's the one that pulled Roman Reigns off the table at the last minute, showing that he's not petty at all, because Roman Reigns had already speared him earlier on in the night.
Well, here's what I love, too. By the time we got to the end, Zayn pulled up Punk, and Roman gets saved through the dive through the table by Fatu, and then he pulls up Punk. We get that emotional, great pop moment. He finally helps Punk up. And then Jimmy climbs to the top of the cage. He Uso splashes Jacob through the fucking table. So good. And then they're all down.
If you notice, he almost had a Zachary Wentz moment.
Yes.
You could see, because he goes just past the table a little bit and kind of pulls himself back.
Yes.
But he was just, it's excitement, and you're doing it off of a different platform. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
But now we got this is awesome chance.
Cool, yeah.
The Canadian fans are going nuts. Zayn pulls up Punk. And then you hear the Usos pull up Reigns. You hear the let's finish this shit from Jimmy. And they surround Sikoa. A you fucked up chant happens. They hit the super kicks. We got multiple super kicks. And then we get the haluva kick. And then we get the GTS from Punk. Reigns gets the spears, pins him 1, 2, 3. And that's all they wrote for Survivor Series. And Punk said before, he did say before, to cut you off, he said, if you want to revisit this when we're done, we can. You and I can talk about this. But I'm going to help you because your wise man owes me a favor. We still don't know what that favor is.
No, we don't. And he reminded Heyman on the way out, too. I'm going to be asking you for a favor one day. Here's the thing. There's a lot of cliches in wrestling, right?
Yes,
one of them, and especially in War Games, one of them is that whole, once everybody's in, they line up and they have that West Side Story, everybody comes to the middle thing, right? Not necessarily in a War Games match, but there is one scenario, typically the baby faces don't have the advantage, right?
Yes.
But there's that one scenario where you finally circle the wagons, and somebody that's been such a dickhead that the audience wants everybody to get a shot in.
Wants you all to destroy,
and it's okay, Eric Bischoff gets beat up by the whole roster and thrown in the dumpster, like that kind of thing, right? It's the only time that the baby faces having a numbers advantage makes sense or is forgiven, depending on how you want to look at it. But when they circled around Solo Sikoa, and you'll notice when they made the circle, CM Punk was the last one to join the circle.
Yes, he was.
And it was that little extra story of, wow, Solo fucked up so much.
All of them posing at the end, you know, Punk has GTS, while everybody else has the ones for Roman. I mean,
swear I thought somebody was going to come out when they stopped on the stage to do it again, and he kind of dipped under to do the sleep motion thing again. I thought somebody was going to come behind. I thought Paul Heyman was going to nutshot somebody.
I thought somebody was going to surprise us, and we didn't get it. And like Big Glenn said, you know, no, Jacob was not injured. He just sold so well you thought he was fucked. You know, he has that.
Well, because he got injured before on that leg, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't always, and this is, you know, call me a pussy, whatever. I don't always like them leaning on the fans' knowledge of real injuries, because then you
take it to a different.
You're manipulating people in a way that's not. It's not working.
It's legitimate. It's not a story anymore. It's
kind of like people are saying similar. I mean, I'm glad to hear that apparently Jade Cargill's okay and it's a complete work.
If that's to believed. I mean, Meltzer and Alvarez say it's not a work. She is injured, and everybody else says she is. So we'll see what happens.
But if it is completely fake, and they then leak the story that her injury is fake to cover up for a real injury, and the real injury isn't real. You know what I mean? Like, don't play with how we in real life don't want these people to be hurt. I don't know. I know I'm going into layers again, but I have to double back
But you have to.
Yeah, I have to double back to the circle the wagons moment, because
please do.
I thought for a split second when they were all circled, nobody moved, but Solo kind of, you know, you get that Morgan Freeman. It was at that moment he believed he fucked up.
You fucked up, yeah.
When he stared down Roman and they were jaw-jacking
in those last couple up, yeah.
Yep, they got the "you fucked up" chance. But
exactly.
And that was from Canadians. We're usually so polite. No, we're not. Some of that's bullshit, by the way.
Sometimes.
I thought for a split second that he would have faked acknowledging Roman, and then like gone to a nut shot, or somebody else got a final shot in, or that's where we introduce Hikuleo, or what's the other one, Zilla Fatu or whatever.
But that's not what we got. I thought they might surprise us.
The surprise was no surprises, and I'm so glad they did that.
Yes,
without any surprises. If they had done the whole, if he had faked acknowledging Roman, and Roman had just, you know, well, it's too late for that, and decked him in the face, that would have been like the cherry on the icing on the cake. But the cake was still pretty fucking good. Everybody gets their shot.
The cake was delicious. Everybody got their shots in. Everybody felt good. There's a reason this has a 70% above a B grade right now. Most people are in the A range. 41% are in the A range, and there's a reason for it. It was enjoyable from start to finish. Spaz, is there anything else you want to get to with this pay-per-view? Please,
I do kind of like the fact that it kind of like Randy Orton last year, right? CM Punk was the surprise last addition to this. He hit the GTS after everybody else had gotten their kicks in, but then sort of stepped to one side to let Roman get the spear and the pin, because he's the one that's been carrying this story the whole time. Very much like, if you remember last year at this time, they in that War Games match when Randy Orton made his return, they chucked JD McDonough off the top of the cage into an RKO, and it was spectacular. But then he stepped aside.
They destroyed him. They fucking killed him.
But after that cool spot, he looked to Cody. He high-fived Cody. He stepped out of the way because Cody getting the pin on Damian made more sense.
Yes.
And I think the fact that they did the same thing here is important, and it's going to be remembered.
Okay.
It's going to be remembered, yeah.
So this is going to lead to something bigger, you think?
I don't know necessarily that it's going to be something bigger. I think it's cool that they've made the last-minute additions important in the match, but they haven't let the last-minute additions overshadow the story itself, because the Vince
here's my question.
The Vince WWE would have given the pin to CM Punk, and as much as I love that, it wouldn't have made sense, because the actual fight is Solo and Roman, not Solo and Punk.
Here's my question then.
Sure.
Who did the attack on Jade Cargill? Who do you think? I want to know.
Ooh.
I mean, do you think it's Bayley? Do you think it's Naomi? I think Bayley's too obvious. I think Naomi makes more sense, but it's a good question. I mean, really.
See, I want to say Bianca because I want Bianca to turn heel and maybe be a little bit more interesting.
Taking on Jade would make a ton of sense with their tag team titles, and they can go and say like, "Oh, you didn't hold up to your end of the bargain."
I think it's more so like in how can I say this? She doesn't want to be a tag team partner with Jade Cargill anymore. She wants to be on the top of the mountain again. She sees, Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax and all that on the top of the mountain. She wants to go for that. Bayley would be an obstacle to her getting there. Yeah. So I'll injure my partner without her knowing somehow, like attack from behind or whatever. So then I won't have to worry about being a tag team champion anymore. I won't have to bother losing my tag team championship. And I can potentially eliminate one of the people that may be a roadblock to me getting towards the title in Bayley. So she takes out Jade Cargill. She doesn't have to worry about Jade Cargill anymore. She makes it look like Bayley's done it. She potentially doesn't have to worry about Bayley anymore, or she can justify doing something horrible to Bayley because she's just defending her friend. And then she goes for Nia Jax and gets the title back for 100th time, and we all cry, and then we focus on the women's world title instead.
Exactly. But
I said it to you before.
Do we cry, or do we just know that, like, hey, this is how it's supposed to go?
There's so many other people that have never held that title once.
And that's the thing, and now they're adding these mid-card titles, and is that going to take away from the tag division? I think so, absolutely.
Maybe, but again, you've worked her into that as well.
Think about it. It has to, because it's taking away on both shows. So, I mean, you're taking one person away on both shows. You need them to face off with somebody, so that's two people in general, a heel and a face, no matter who wins.
Yes, but with the women's tag team titles being the floater title, I genuinely do believe, and I hope, that those titles are going to be held by somebody in NXT for a bit. And because right now they kind of live on SmackDown, even though they're floater titles.
Yes.
Let them live on NXT and still be floater titles. But that's again, you can have her now. She wants to do something horrible to Bayley because she doesn't forgive Bayley for what Bayley did last year or whatever, right? So now when she does something horrible to Bayley, she can say, "Well, I think she took out my friend. She's cost me my shot at this U.S. title, and
she fucked me over continually." Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, perpetual victim complex. It's a very 2024 gimmick.
It works. It does.
I'm not saying I did DEI training this past week at work. Not at all.
It's not in your DNA, no. But Spaz, where can we find you, my good man?
You can find me beating my head against the wall if Bianca Belair holds the title again. But you guys can find me on just about everything. You can find me on X or Instagram at Spaz Phoenix. You can find my show, the Spaz Phoenix Podcast, on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iTunes by searching Spaz Phoenix Podcast. You'll be listening to it right now. If you didn't manage to catch us live tonight, the audio for this will be available on my audio streams only, excluding YouTube. Because as I said before, if you're on YouTube, you should be watching Jake.
You guys can hear us live here right now with Spaz's, different channels on Rumble, on Apple Podcasts, on everything else included. But
Spotify, and I think I'm on Amazon as well. I haven't checked in ages.
Absolutely. And you guys can catch us weekly on the State of Wrestling podcast. I mean, this has been a great night. I'm really excited to see where things go from here. I mean, Saturday Night Main Event is going to be great. We have Deadline coming up in a week's time as well.
I was going to say we won't be doing State of Wrestling for the next 2 weeks because we had Survivor Series this week. We've got Deadline preview next week, and we've got Saturday Night's Main Event preview the week before that.
It's really just all previews.
We'll touch on stuff if stuff comes up like we did with Survivor Series, but I think it's like WWE, I hate to be the braggadocious guy, but they're going from strength to strength to strength, from show to show to show, and we'll probably end up doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, Deadline is going to be incredible. They have the whole, the tag team guys are going independent as well as for the tag team titles. That's interesting.
The tag team resurgence on NXT is something we're going to have to spend a lot of time on the preview.
Yeah, because 3 weeks now. I mean, Ava seems like the worst general manager. She's like, I'm going to find you replacements. Don't worry. 3 weeks later, she can sell a door. Between a commercial break, she did.
And Shawn Michaels is going to face Eddie Thorpe, I think. It's going to be great.
We'll see.
Pretty sure that we are going to come back here onto your show and live stream after Deadline, correct?
Yes, we will. Exactly. We'll be here after Deadline.
Won't be around for Saturday night's main event. Unfortunately, I've got some other stuff going on that day, but we'll be sure to talk about that sometime later that week.
A bit of craziness because, you know, a lot of people have the holiday stuff going on. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Spaz won't be here, but we'll cover Saturday night's main event. We'll see what happens without him. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you again. Yeah. Hit the like button, subscribe down below. And make sure you check out the Spaz Phoenix podcast. We're there every week doing the State of Wrestling. It's a great time. We have a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and as always, stay sexy, you sexy bastards. Spaz, any last comments before we get out of here?
War games.
War games. That's right, bud. Let's hit that intro one more time. Everybody, have a great night. Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Cheers.
From the opening bell to the final dance, we analyze every win and lost chance.